Alright, so last time I did show you a tank build for the Rattlesnake. Basically, that would be the fit that I would personally use if this ship was my primary PvP battleship. Now it's time to play around with the DPS fit on this ship, and I'm very curious to see what's the maximum possible DPS that I can get out of the Rattlesnake. Now, with the DPS build, the first thing that you will notice is that the defense is vastly reduced. Of course, the DPS will be greatly improved. 2034.09 DPS. This is currently a fusion between the tank and DPS fit. As you can see, I use dual 2P combat integration modules, both focused on DPS, and there is the third normal rig. This is the combination that I was told was the optimal one for the highest possible DPS, and there is a big improvement. I think over 600 DPS improvement from the last build. Now the resistances will take a big impact, 20, 42, 55 and 60% on all damage types. Now I'm very curious to see what's the resistance with the adaptives, with the current DPS build. Should be a lot lower, and it is a lot lower. Only 365,000 hit points on the Rattlesnake. 79, 85, 88 and 90%, which is still good, but the tank build does do the resistance a lot better, as to be expected with a tank build. This still can take a lot of damage, but it's not as good as the previous build. The rest of the stats are looking to be okay, and the numbers don't seem to have changed, which is of course to be expected. So I think it's time to go and change the rigs. My apologies, to change the modules, not rigs. Here I have quad nest form drone damage amplifier, and they improved the DPS by 400. Now honestly, I expected a lot more, but this is still pretty good, I think. Every nest form increases the damage by 15%. This is the passive effect. They also have the active effect, and I will show you the DPS in the active state as well. I personally like to use the large drones because they seem to be the best option for this ship, but you can also use Sentry drones. Sentry drones have a little bit higher DPS, but they cannot move, and your ship also will not move if you use Sentry drones. 2,600 DPS, they have a range of 85 kilometers, optimal to 22.5, accuracy valve 40.5. Now Sentry drones are good if you have the range rigs. I don't have them, so I will show you how it works and how it looks with Sentry drones, but at the same time, for the most part, I personally like to use normal large drones. You can also use cruise missiles. They have around 109 kilometer range, which is actually really nice, and it does really work well with Sentry drones. It can also work really well with the normal large drones that also have a very long range. Now you can also add a fifth drone damage amplifier, and you can add a sixth, but 4 is practically the best and optimal layout. And well, the DPS got improved by a little bit, because after the 4th damage mod it's kind of pointless to add any more damage mods, but for fun I'll use 5 just for fun. And the DPS 2472.29 with the large drones. Now let's take a look at the active DPS. I expect around 4,500, but we will see. With one damage mod activated, it's 2719.17 DPS. With the second damage mod, it's almost 3000. With the third damage mod, it's 3121. Okay, and with the fourth one, the DPS is 3,200. And with the fifth one, the DPS is 3235.73. Honestly, I expected more. I really expected a lot more DPS out of this ship. I expected at least 5,000. Maybe I should equip B-types or A-type missile launchers. That will definitely improve the DPS. And I like that the drone DPS is practically the highest DPS value on this ship. Well then, let's try out the Sentry drones. The Sentry drone DPS with one damage mod, it's almost 3000. Okay, that's already a nice little improvement. 3,200 with the second one. With the third one, the DPS is 3,300, almost 3.4. With the fourth one, 3,400, almost 3,500. And with the last one, the DPS is 3,500, which is a little bit better than the normal large drones. Although, honestly, I did still expect a lot more DPS out of this ship, but it's still a very nice DPS value on the Rattlesnake. Well then, overall,
request accepted.
I think I will like the build with 5 drone damage amplifiers because they seem to be fun. And well, with that being said, I think it will be time to take this ship out with the DPS build, and let's see how it will perform. Now, one thing that I will tell you right away: do not use this in low sec. Do not use this in null sec. If you get tackled, you will most likely lose this ship. So, this is a build that is purely for high sec and for high sec missions only. So please do not attempt to fly a ship with this build in low sec. Trust me, it's a very easy target. I've shot down thousands of rattlesnakes. So I know how easy it is to shoot down a DPS rattlesnake, because these things really cannot defend themselves against anything that's fast. So a Nortus or anything else that's fast that can speed tank the drones and missiles will easily kill a rattlesnake. So with this build you should stay in high sec only. Now I'm here using Sentry drones, and here you can see that they hit, but they also miss, and that's because these are moving targets. Sentry drones don't have that good of tracking, and this is why if you like to use Sentry drones, then I would use that third rig slot for range. Maybe slap a rig integration that focuses on range, drone DPS, and drone damage. That is one of the combinations that I would use for this ship, but for this build the large drones should perform really well. As for Sentry drones, well, they seem to be okay. They are pretty good, although they're not my favorite drones. So for sentries, really long range recommended. This is a little bit close for them, but they still hit, and they have really good alpha damage and overall really good DPS, which is something that I really like about the Sentry drones. But one thing that I don't like is that, well, they don't move, and that might be a problem if a target gets close to you. But in high sec that should not be a big problem. And they even miss a battleship, which is kind of confusing me, but at the same time I'm not really surprised because I'm a little bit too close. So it is to be expected. Now let me quickly swap into the large drones. I really like the large drones on this ship. They seem to be working really well, and overall they have really good DPS and overall really good performance. Now if you focus your build and if you add a little bit more drone speed, then you can technically catch a fast cruiser, but the fast cruiser will still be able to speed tank the large drones, because overall large drones are not that good to chase fast ships around. They can easily evade them and speed tank them, which is not a problem with medium drones or small drones. They are overall excellent against smaller targets. As for large drones, well, they're good against battlecruisers, battleships, carriers, dreadnoughts, of course, but the carrier or dreadnought will easily shoot down a rattlesnake. I had experience with that as well. When you fly two dreadnoughts, you kind of get the experience with shooting down the battleships, which is fun. Honestly, the dreadnought experience so far, at least from my perspective, was hilariously fun. I really did enjoy flying these things. And I plan to fly carriers, working towards one, so that's one of the next ships that you will see at one point. And if you hear something making a little bit of a noise, something like, if you hear something crashing, that's just my microphone for some reason. Sometimes it decides to do that, not quite sure why. Always gets me confused when I go and edit, when I hear some weird noises coming from the microphone, although I personally don't hear anything while recording, but on the recording you can hear some things sometimes. Makes me think that my house is haunted. That would be hilarious, although don't really need a ghost. No thank you, not yet. Alright, joke aside, I'm focusing down the small ships first, or the tackle ship in this case, which is that exploration frigate. Now, small ships, even if you are running a mission, can sometimes be very difficult to hit, and that's one of the reasons why I personally didn't like to use the Rattlesnake for PvE, although it's pretty good, but sometimes it just does not hit these small things, and that might be a problem. That can affect the clear time, and that does affect the ISK per hour thing. So you can technically use the drone supervision control, which does improve the drone speed. That way the drones will be able to catch up with the small ships. But even when they catch up, then sometimes they just have problem with tracking. Overall, I don't experience much of that issue over here, but you can see that the drones do miss quite often. Eventually they do hit, but they also miss, and I think that is affecting the clear time a little bit. And it's where the Sentry drones will definitely work better, because at very long range tracking doesn't really matter much, because they will be, well, they will not be moving that fast for the tracking of the drones. So with the Sentry drones you can easily sit at 150 kilometers and just pop everything, which works, but I personally don't like Sentry drones. Nothing wrong with Sentry drones, I just personally don't like them, and I personally don't use them that often. Alright, sorry for the weird cut. The door just slammed on its own. You know, I made a joke about my house being haunted, but I guess that's slowly turning into a reality, who knows. Alright, back to the Rattlesnake. So, still rolling the large drones. You can actually mix the drones. You can use one for explosive or kinetic damage, and the other one for thermal or EM. I personally like to use one drone damage type, because that's what seems to be working really good. The current drones that I'm using are perfect to go through armors, while the EM damage type drones would be good for shields. A mix can be good for both, and of course you have your missiles to help out with the DPS. Now, these ships, the Gila, Worm and the Rattlesnake, are mainly ships that mostly do rely on drones. I like the fact that one large drone on these ships equals around 4 or 5 large drones on a normal ship, which is kind of ridiculous. Also, the same thing goes for the Gila and for the Worm. Their overall paper stats on the drones are really good. Now these ships do suffer from being slow. That's practically the only thing that I personally don't really like about the Rattlesnake or Gila. They can be really slow. However, being slow is not that bad in a lot of cases if you have a pretty good tank, and these ships are perfect for overall missions, encounters. I won't use them for exploration, that's kinda risky. And I believe in the future, when we get wormholes, or who knows if we even get something similar to the wormholes, then I believe that these ships would work over there as well. Now I know a little thing about Sister of Eve ships, especially about the Nestor. That thing has a very small mass, it's practically a battlecruiser. So you can easily sneak a Nestor into a wormhole and it will not collapse. That's I think one thing that I did forget to mention about the Nestor. Really good to sneak them inside wormholes and, well, roam around inside of wormholes without worrying about the entry collapsing, although be careful around other players that don't know about that, because I personally believe when we get wormholes at one point in the game, it's going to be very hilarious, because we will have a lot of players just stuck inside. They will throw a battleship or two inside and the entry will just collapse and they'll just be stuck inside, and that's going to be very funny, because I can already see the salt. I can already see the salt pouring in, and it's going to be gold, I can tell you. I know a couple of my friends, they have some very funny encounters inside wormholes. One of them did forget the cloak, was chased across wormhole space and across nullsec space by a whole fleet, which is very funny. Always carry a cloaking device if you go inside wormholes, especially if you fly an Astro or any other cover-top ship that has the ability to cloak itself. Well, so far this little ship does clear the missions really fast. You know, on paper I wasn't really impressed by the DPS. I really expected around 4,500, 5,000 DPS, but 3,500 DPS is actually not that bad. As you can see, it does go through the ships very quickly. I would say that it is comparable to the Macarial in clear times. I haven't been flying the Macarial in a very long time. I plan to record the new build on that ship as well. But first I have to wait for some of my skills to actually go back, because I actually had to reset a couple skills for the dreadnoughts, especially for the jump range skill. It was really difficult to bring the Revelation back to its current home, because it was literally at the other end of the game, and well, I had to do a lot of jumps, a lot of sino jumps, and trust me, it took me around I think 5 hours to actually return the Revelation to its original home. Wasn't that pleasant, to be honest, especially if you have to do a long warp and your capacitor is just depleted in that long warp. Could be very risky to get stuck in mid warp, and then you can get scanned, and then the dreadnought is a easy target. Well then, let's go towards the next mission. Now, the first one was a low sec encounter, and again, do not run low sec encounters with this build, it's not going to end well. I'm speaking from experience. I've participated in the destruction of a lot of rattlesnakes, and some of them had a build similar to this, and trust me, they did not last long at all. Easy kills in low sec, but overall very good in high sec, where you are safe from any ship that does decide to scan you. While this does look like a silly build, and I think it is a very silly build, it is ridiculously effective. you can easily cycle all of the 5 drone damage amplifiers without worrying about the cooldown. Honestly, them improving, or should I say nerfing these modules did more good than bad in my experience. The overall cold DPS of all ships has been vastly improved, and it's a lot more similar to EVE Online now with the passive effects, although I still wish that it was 100% passive effect, because that way I would be able to replicate some of the EVE Online builds that I know. But so far, I think we are on a good track towards that, and I would say, I would predict that in one of the next big balance patches, all of the current damage mods that have the active mode will be 100% passive. That sounds kinda funny, I know, but that's what I personally expect them to do with these ships. And these drones actually do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, that damage is not that applicable in PvP. However, excellent for PvE. And I would still say that one of the best weapon systems for missions and encounters are definitely drones. I did say that for 2 years, and I will still say that, because drones just offer something that other weapon systems just can't do. You can get range, you can get excellent DPS, and you can get safety. Safety in really good range, safety in being able to defend against smaller ships. Of course, that doesn't count for the Rattlesnake, but for the other drone boats it counts. And the DPS, well, you can have really good DPS for the range. Overall, that seems to be the thing about drones, and that makes them one of the best weapon systems in the game for missions. If you're worried about, let's say if you like to run low stack missions, now the Rattlesnake can do that, but not with this build. If you are running low stack encounters with a Rattlesnake, I recommend going full tank, and because that way you have a good chance to actually defeat your target, or should I say you have a good chance to actually defend yourself against the ship that's attacking you. But for overall drones, medium drones are the excellent balance between everything. The Dominics 2 for example, and other drone boats like Astor. So far, no big problem in shooting down the smaller ships, although I try to focus down the tackle first. After the tackle I try to focus down the next smaller ship, but if you like to run this AFK, you can actually do that really nicely. Although the best AFK ship for missions is definitely the Typhoon 2. That thing can easily maintain orbit at 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers with rapid missiles, and just orbit around the ships, and it easily clears everything with the press of a button. You just click focus fire, orbit, and you let the game do the thing, which is really nice. And the Typhoon currently is the best one for that type of clearing, although the clear times would be, I guess, a little bit slower. However, you are going to be doing missions the AFK way with that, so you will not feel the difference in clearing, and you will not feel the difference in the ISK that you obtain from clearing the mission in such a way. And that's actually interesting. I personally haven't done anything AFK in this game so far, but I have friends who do, and the Typhoon and the Typhoon 2, to be more accurate, are practically the best ships for that job, and of course they have very good damage application. The best missile damage application in the game, which makes the Typhoons really good and really unique. They might not have the best tank, but they're fast, and they sure have the excellent damage application. For missiles, having better damage application is better than having raw DPS, which is something that I have been doing on my ships for a very long time now. I prefer damage application over raw damage on my missile battleships. As for the Rattlesnake, well, the missiles are just there to help while the drones do the main DPS. Next wave has spawned in. Okay, let me focus on... I will definitely focus on that destroyer. That one has the web or scrambler. You can actually activate 2 of the damage mods at the same time, and that also works really well. I personally would not use all 5 at the same time because that is kinda pointless, but you can do that as well if you like. And honestly, I actually enjoy flying this ship. When I was flying the Rattlesnake for the first time, I wasn't really impressed. The only thing that was really impressive about this ship when I started flying it was the tank. The resistances on this are insane. And back before the April balance patch, the Rattlesnakes actually used shield extenders with full-on tank resistance and with adaptives. With that build at the time, these things were practically immortal, because you just couldn't go through the tank of this, and that was basically the only good thing about this ship. Now I can kinda see other uses for the Rattlesnake. You can easily use this for PvE, and should work really well for nullsec missions. Not nullsec missions, but should work really well for nullsec encounters. Do we even have nullsec missions? I think we do. Sometimes I see a combat mission in nullsec appear. Although I don't do missions that often, so I'm not that experienced in running PvE, but that's okay. I still remember when I used to do storyline missions the whole day, and then when it's nighttime, then I go run PvP. That's practically how I started PvP in this game, and honestly it was very fun, and still is very fun. Alright, well, that would be it for the Rattlesnake, with the DPS build Rattlesnake to be more accurate. Overall, I really do enjoy this build, worked really well, although I believe that the DPS was a little bit low. In the end, well, I actually don't mind the low DPS because it clears missions very quickly, and overall the DPS looks to be just the right amount. So, with that being said, hope that you enjoyed, hope that you find this build helpful, and with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.